Tom, I guess let's start with just the base of this story. When you first found out about it, how you currently read the situation and the scope of it. We're seeing 26 athletes. We're seeing several sports. We're seeing at least reported from a number of outlets this investigation involving both Iowa and Iowa State, which makes sense because it is the Iowa Gaming Commission. So where do we stand in regards to the information you currently have?
Yeah, so this story really started percolating on Friday, early evening, late afternoon. The Iowa baseball team was going to be playing Ohio State. They had a golf outing earlier in the day, and Keaton Anthony, I'm sorry, was at the golf outing for the University of Iowa baseball program. And then he wasn't in the lineup, and he's their best player. He's one of the best players in the Big Ten, one of the best hitters. He's second in the country in doubles this season in all of college baseball, and started kind of poking around. And he wasn't hurt, wasn't sick, didn't have a death in the family. It was just sort of this mystery. And then it started to kind of talk to some people, and Kyle Huseman, who covers baseball for us, was talking to some people too. And it eventually kind of winded around to something to do with sports gambling. And then it just kind of took off there. There were a couple of other prominent players from the baseball program that were also not in the dugout, not with the team, not playing, including two other backup catchers. So that's how you find out about this. If not for the baseball team, I don't know if we even know that this is ongoing, honestly, because it would have been involved with, basketball, wrestling. Did people pay close enough attention to track to notice that a couple of people might be missing? I doubt it. I don't know. But with baseball, people notice, especially when it's your best hitter that's out of the lineup at a key point in the season. So it's kind of gone from there. Then yesterday, the acknowledgement from the Iowa Gaming Commission that there was an investigation into everything. And then about 5 o'clock yesterday afternoon, the news dump comes from the university side. It was interesting that came from the university side, not the athletic department and not from Iowa Sports Information, but from the president's office, essentially, that 26 student athletes covering football, baseball, men's basketball, men's wrestling, men's track and field were involved. And overall, there were 111, but some of them are now former student athletes or were past student athletes that apparently have gotten flagged in this. So, and the university does do training on this with all the student athletes before the season every year. They're taught, you can't do this, and if you do this, there's going to be consequences for it. So now we're just waiting. From what we've been told with the baseball guys, they were hoping to hear today what sort of punishment they were going to be receiving, or because with the NCAA, generally it's been you lose a half a year, you lose half your season if you're. And there's a kid from Virginia Tech that admitted to betting on NBA games, and he lost half a year in the past year. So is that going to be the standard from here on out? I don't know. We'll see. But I think we're going to know more. I'll say this, too. The coaches, other than like Rick Heller, the baseball coach, they had no idea. Even as of like last night, they have no idea which of their players or athletes are involved. Like football players, Kirk Ferentz didn't know as of last night. Basketball players, Fran McCaffrey did not know last night. Tom Brands doesn't know who the wrestlers or whoever's involved. They didn't know. That's as somebody told me this morning, who had spoken to at least one of the coaches. That's the first time in their coaching career that they've ever had experienced that, where they've been excluded from all of this.
And Tom, isn't it? First of all, thank you for being here, Tom.
Yeah.
But isn't it fair to say that that's due to the involvement of the FBI? I mean, if these are just routine NCAA violations that the NCAA is dealing with that would result in some form of punishment, like even what you said, a harsh half season suspension. I don't know how you exclude coaches. Isn't that an indication that there's something else besides just guys gambling on other sports?
Yes and no. I don't know that the FBI stuff is completely true. Nobody has confirmed that. All that we've gotten confirmed is that the Gaming Commission, and then there was some stuff with potential criminal activity, but I think the Gaming Commission has kind of indicated that when they're talking about that, it was some of the student athletes who are underage, who are not 21, who have been using these online gambling, and that's it's a misdemeanor, but it's quote unquote criminal activity, if you will, in air quotes. But for example, two of the baseball players that have been out are not 21. Two of them are freshmen. So that's maybe what they were talking about there. I know the FBI rumor has been out there, but I don't know that there's any evidence of that at this point.
Well, I guess, and I'm obviously inferring this based on the information, but the fact that all these coaches don't know, Tom, is just doesn't that raise a red flag? That, I mean, if this was just NCAA stuff, wouldn't the coaches know?
I don't know. This is new ground for us, so never had a gambling thing like this. So I don't know that they necessarily the names have been released, other than what's been out there with that they had to take the baseball players off the field because they were involved in it. So we know who they are. So I don't know why. I don't know why they had not contacted Kirk Ferentz or Fran McCaffrey or Tom Brands at that point, but and let them know maybe they're they want to finalize what their punishments are going to be or what the process is going to be like. I have no idea. It's very strange.
Just for a moment, I want to give a shout out to our sponsors. Under the Kitchen, doing great stuff. Randy Engel and his authentic Hawkeye artwork. He's got deals with a number of players, former players, and I think some future players are in the pipeline. Visit Under the Kitchen on Facebook. Great gift ideas for your favorite Hawkeye friends. And Ascent Nutrition. Use the code Hawkeyes at checkout, whether you're buying coffee, which is great. It perks you up in the morning. It's mold and mycotoxin free, or any of their other great products. Use the code Hawkeyes for 15% off, courtesy of Ascent Nutrition and from the Hawkeye of the Storm. Visit goascentnutrition.com to learn more about these outstanding products. And just to make it clear, there's rumors out there that there were players betting on the Iowa-South Carolina women's basketball game. Yeah. Those rumors have not been validated, correct?
They have not. I've heard the same thing. Could that be true? Probably. Maybe, But then again, I'm just sort of like, what would the harm be? It's not like they were operating on inside information. I think what's happened, guys, is, these rules about gambling are kind of antiquated rules. They're set up at a time when Vegas was the only place you could go to maybe make a bet, probably, on a sporting event. And the only other way you could do it is you find a bookie, right? And so they were worried more about, you get in debt to a bookie, and then a bookie squeezes you and gets you to shave points or, throw a game or then you worry about the integrity of the game getting impacted if some guy gets in debt to a bookie.
As happened in college basketball in the early 1950s.
Yeah, happened. The CCNY thing, I think, was right.
Yep.
And there was a Boston College when Dr. Tom Davis was there. At Boston College, you had the Arizona State thing with Headache Smith, where Arizona State students were taking bags of cash up to Vegas and betting on games because this guy was was shaving points or throwing games. It's happened. And I think that's why they have these kind of harder rules. Now you can monitor it because they're all betting online. They're not going to bookies. They're going to, DraftKings, FanDuel, Circa, wherever, and placing their bets online. So you can track what they're doing. I would just set up something that says you can't bet on your school. You can't bet on the sport that you're involved in.
From a ethical standpoint, I completely agree with you, Tom. Unless the device itself or the platform can be configured in such a way to block that, though, those games are obviously the ones that those athletes participate in are just a click away. That would be my one concern in terms of having a habit or an addiction to do that, that there is a temptation because it's only a click away to go to your particular sport or game.
Oh yeah, it's definitely a temptation, but but they'll be able to monitor it. They monitor every bet that you make, and they have to report that. That's how you keep the integrity of things, and that's how they're able to operate now in the state. They have to report every bet, and you have access to it, so they can track it and say, well, if player X put a bet down on the Iowa-Utah State game, and he's playing in it, they can flag that right away and take it down. Take the game down from betting and sideline that player.